Hi guys, this video is going to tell you everything you need to know about the Year 7 topic of algorithms. I'm going to put the timestamps here and then also in the description below if you're watching on YouTube, so you can skip to whatever bit that you need. The purpose of this unit is to be able to get you to read algorithms, and we're going to focus on flowcharts. So the first thing that you need to know is what the different flowchart symbols mean. Every single flowchart has to start and stop with the sausage shape. If you want the user to input data, or if the program is going to return data back to the user, you use the parallelogram. Any processes that the program has to carry out, for example calculations, goes in a rectangle. Any decisions that the computer has to make, so this could be selection, so deciding whether or not something is true or false, or it could be iteration, so repeating a certain section of the program over and over and over again, go in a diamond. All of these different shapes need to be connected together with an arrow. This shows how the program flows, so this means the sequence that the program must operate in. Sometimes you might put your sequence in the wrong order, or you might use the wrong shape to describe what is happening. This will create something called a logic error. This is when the program runs but the output is unexpected. So the program is running, however what happens might not be what the user is expecting to happen. If for example you were using a calculator and you typed in 5 add 5 equals, you would expect the program to output 10. However, if the programmer had written the code incorrectly and instead of putting a plus sign had put a multiply sign, the program would output 25. Technically the program is still running. It's taking an input and it's returning an output. However, the output was unexpected, so there's a logic error in the code. Logic errors can be quite hard to spot because the program won't tell you that the code is wrong. You have to test your program to find out whether or not there are logic errors. When entering or returning data, there are different data types that can be used. Integers or whole numbers, float or real or decimal numbers, strings or characters, so this can be a combination of letters or numbers or symbols, and Boolean, which means true or false. One really important thing to realise is if you want to do maths with the numbers, you have to use an integer or a float/real. You can't do maths on strings because it might be characters and the computer won't know how to work out the answer. All algorithms have a sequence. Sequence is the order in which the tasks must be carried out. Programs might contain selection, which is a decision for what happens next, and programs might also include iteration, and this is where a section of code is repeated a number of times. All programs need to be tested before they are released to the public. Test data is data that is entered to check whether or not the program is working as expected. Normal data is data that the program would expect. Boundary data could be anything from incorrect data is data that the program should not accept. So if as an example we look at a program that wants the user to type in their age. The program has been set up to accept any value between 1 and 125. So normal data would be any data between 2 and 124. So 55, 67, 99, these are all normal data to type into test. Boundary data would be the extreme values. So in this situation, it will be 1 or 125. The program should still accept these, but these are the very, very limits of what it should accept. Incorrect data is anything smaller than 1 or bigger than 125. Nobody in reality can be a minus number when it comes to age. You can't be -5. It's unlikely someone's going to live to be older than 125. So you would type in things that you know are wrong to check that the program doesn't just crash when the user types something in that's wrong. So you might type in 0, you might type in -25, you might type in 1000. In order to write an algorithm, you need to know the different math symbols. Add and subtract are the same as in maths. Divide is a /, multiply is a little star, and greater than and less than are the same as maths as well. Every single flowchart shows a sequence, but in particular this flowchart shows iteration. We know that because a section of code is being repeated a set amount of times. So the flowchart starts with someone turning on the computer, they're then asked to input their username and password, and then the decision diamond checks whether or not their username and password is correct. If it is correct, the yes criteria is met and the account is loaded, the algorithm ends. If the username and password are not correct, then the decision diamond loops back round and asks them to enter their username and password again. It could be that if they never enter their username or password correctly, they're going to be stuck in this loop forever. In this second example, this flowchart in particular is showing selection. At the start of the flowchart, someone loads their internet browser and then they input the website they want to go on. They click to log in and log in with their Google account. If the user is already signed into Google, the next step of the flowchart tells them to click on their school Google account, and this loads and the flowchart ends. If the user isn't already signed into Google, then the different part of the flowchart is run, they're asked to input their username and password, and then the flowchart ends. This is different to the previous flowchart because in both sections, coming off of the decision, new code will be run. This is how you know that this flowchart shows selection and not iteration.